Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Book and Banter Society. Now, this movie right here, I had to dig out of my memory because not that many people talk about this movie. And this movie is creepy, but it's creepy on so many different levels. I'm talking about the 1976 horror mystery movie, The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane, starring Jodie Foster, rated PG, with a running time of 1 hour and 40 minutes. Yes, it's time for the part we all love. The disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed on the Book and Banner Society are my opinions and my opinions alone. I am not a professional movie critic. I just love movies and I like to share them with you. Okay. And also keep in mind with some of these movies, you may be triggered. Some of these movies, violence, gore, cussing, different dialogue. I'm just letting you know you have been warned. And spoiler alert, I do a lot of talking about these movies. However, I never give away the ending because I want you to be surprised. All right, all that out the way, let's move on. And one more thing, I want to say thank you so much for checking out my channel. So much competition in social media land. So when you take time out to listen to me, I greatly appreciate it. And don't forget to like, subscribe to my channel, and hit that freaking notification bell. And also pick up my book, The Creeping Things and Other Tales of Madness and Mayhem. Pick it up as a Christmas gift for yourself, for a neighbor, relative, coworker, or friend. It's available on Amazon, Lulu, Barnes and Noble, and all over the place. So, all right, let's get started. Before the movie, there was a book, The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane, published in 1974 by Lard Philip Koenig. So the next thing you know, a director comes along, a director by the name of Nicholas Gelsner. He read the book, he liked the book, and he decided, you know what? I want to turn this into a movie. And that, of course, is exactly what happened. The movie was shot in Canada because of tax incentives. However, it was also shot in Maine as well. And when you look at the movie, you can tell it is freezing cold. So, no, the actors didn't have to pretend it's cold because guess what? It really was. All right, got your snacks, soda, water, adult beverage. Get settled in because we're going back in time. The year is 1976, and we are in an isolated part of town in Long Island, New York. And we have Ren Jacobs. Now, Ren Jacobs is celebrating her 13th birthday. Classical music is playing, and she looks in the mirror and she's like, Happy birthday to me. But not only is it her birthday, it's actually Halloween as well. Then the next thing you know, there's a knock at the door. And she grabs a cigarette, she lights it, she smokes it, then she starts blowing the smoke everywhere. It's like, okay, why is she doing this? Could it be because she's trying to pretend someone is in the house with her? So this guy shows up at the door and he's like, Hey, it's Halloween. How come you're not trick or treating? And she's like, What? Like, who are you? So then he's like, Yeah, I'm Frank Hallett. Your father knows who I am. I'm out here taking my two kids out trick or treating because I have to make sure there's no dirty old men out here. giving pretty young girls candy. And it's like, oh, here we go. And then he just brushes past her and he's like, yeah, tell your dad I'm here. It's like, what? And then he tells her, yeah, why don't you shut the door? You're letting out the heat. It's like, oh no, you can already tell how this is going. So, anyway, this guy, Frank, he's asking a lot of questions. He's like, so where's your mother? And Ren is like, dead. He's like, oh, what about your dad? Your dad is here, right? And she's like, he's in his study. He goes, oh. And he goes, well, my mom, you're leasing this place from my mom. And, Ren is like, so? And I could care less because she's giving him very short, direct answers. So then Ren is like, oh, well, maybe, your two kids will like a piece of, cake. And he goes, oh, you don't have to cut your birthday cake. But she cuts it and she wraps up two slices for his kids. And as you can see by the picture, he's not taking the pieces of cake, he is rubbing her arms. So she snatches her arms away from him, and he's like, oh, what's wrong? Are my hands cold? What's wrong? So she doesn't say anything. She's, getting ready to put some wood on the fire or something like that. And guess what he does, you guys? He slaps her on her butt. Yes, he does. She whirls around and looks at him with rage. The look she gives him, he got so scared. As you can see in this picture, he's stumbling all over himself. He was like, hey, hey, I just spanked you because, when it's, someone's birthday, that's just a tradition. That's what we do here. Because her and her father are supposed to be from England. So he's like, yeah, it's just a birthday tradition here. I mean, come on. You didn't think I was trying to be fresh with you. You didn't think that, did you? So at this point, Frank is getting a little nervous now because he knows he has really, really gone overboard with her and she's not having it. So then the next thing you know, he's saved by the bell because his two kids show up at the front door. So he's, makes a quick exit with his kids. And while he's leaving, he waves at her in the window. Oh, by the way, happy birthday. It's like, yeah, right. Okay, in the top picture, we see Ren going over a bridge, but then there's a car at the end of the bridge with the door open. And you see her, she looks a little scared. It's like, what the hell? And look who it is. It is Frank Hallett. So what she does is she kind of maneuvers herself just away from the car. She doesn't say anything to him. She doesn't even look at him. She doesn't even look at the car. She just continues on her way. But man, look at its face. I mean, this is just creepy without even dialogue. Just very, very creepy. So Ren continues on her way. She is at the bank. So she gets into a safe deposit box that she shares with her dad. And so she has the key. So they let her in. She gets some traveler's checks. Then she goes up to the teller window and look at the lady with the glasses. She whispers to her boss, like, she's only 13. But then that's when Ren is like, I have this account with my father, Lester Jacobs. She's very mature for her age. And so the boss is like, everything checks out. She's okay. And so look, they cash Ren out. Look at that. More money, more money. And then the teller has her sign this card for her signature. So Ren signs it, but before she leaves, she tells the teller, can I have that card back with my signature? The teller gives it back to her. Ren tears it up, throws it away, and leaves the bank. Well, you guys, things are not going to get easier for Ren because the next thing you know, this big giant car pulls up and you would not believe who gets out. It's Cora Hallett. And you guys, I do not use this term lightly. She is a bitch. First of all, before she comes into the house, she's being nosy in the yard and everything like that. And she just busts in and she goes, hey, hey, where's your father? And then she's looking around and she goes, okay, that table does not go there, it goes here. And it's like, what? And she's like, where's your father? And then Ren is like, he's not here. She goes, well, you need to call him and you need to do that. And it's like, whoa, it is crazy. And then she was like, my grandkids said you gave them cake. Uh, was my son in this house? And Ren is like, yes. Were you alone with my son? And she's like, no, my father was here, but he was in his study. And Cora's like, well, she says something to the effect of, well, if you're in the house by yourself, I'd appreciate it if you wouldn't let my son in the house. So now we already know, Cora knows that her son is nothing but a freaking pervert, okay? So now we have that established. So anyway, she's like, well, you know what? I'm just here to get the jelly glasses. So you need to help me move this table so I can go into the cellar and get these jelly glasses. So, I can, make some jelly or whatever. And Ren is like, you're not going in the cellar. And the lady's like, oh, yes, I am. What are you talking about? Ren is like, you'll go into the cellar when my father is home. He is out of town. So when he gets back, we will have the glasses delivered to you. So this lady is like, oh, no, no, no. Then all of a sudden, Ren is like, your son said I had pretty hair. Did you know that? It is like, whoa. So they're kind of like going toe to toe with each other, and Cora is pissed. So, to make a long story short, she's like, you should be in school. How come you're not in school? I'm going to see about that. So basically, she leaves and she leaves without the jelly glasses. So it's like, oh my God. So now not only does Ren have to deal with Frank the pervert, now she has to deal with Frank's mother, who is a nosy bitch. All right. So now we see Ren on the bus. She goes to the town hall, and it's like, why is she going to the town hall? Because remember, Mrs. Hallett is like, I'm a member of the school board. We meet on Mondays, and I'm going to tell them about you. So Ren is getting some information and she just tells the lady, hey, I'm doing a report for school. I just need to know, when does the school board meet? And the lady goes, oh, they meet on Thursdays. Ren goes, well, someone told me they meet on Mondays. The lady said, no, it's always on Thursdays. And here's a copy of their bylaws. So Ren is like, oh, and look at the picture at the bottom. Ren is smiling because she feels vindicated because now she knows Mrs. Hallett is nothing but a liar. But Ren, well, she's breathing a sigh of relief now, but a little bit of trouble is coming. And this is what I'm talking about. It's Frank Hallett again. He's busy in a restaurant eating. He looks out the window. He sees Ren, and he immediately stops eating and rushes to the front door. It's like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. So anyway, he's like, hey, hey, what you doing? She's like, oh, I'm just, doing stuff in town. She's all, where you going? She goes, home. He goes, I can give you a ride. I can give you a ride. She goes, no, no, that's okay. And then he tells her, she tells him rather, "Oh, you know what? Tell your mom I have the jelly glasses and she can come by any time to pick them up." And he goes, "Oh, well, I can pick them up." I can come to your house and pick him up." And then Ren, she goes, "No, that's okay. Just have your mom do it." And then that's when this cop car pulls up behind Ren, and he starts driving very slowly. He comes to a stop, and then he slides over to the passenger side, rolls down the window so he can listen to their conversation. And that's when Frank kind of like, he goes back into the restaurant. And then that's when the police officer says to Ren, "Is everything okay?" And Ren is like, "Yeah, yeah." And then she gets in the police officer's car. He gives her a ride home. They introduce themselves to each other. The police officer tells her, "Well, you may want to stay away from Frank Howlett." And then that's when Ren kind of like, "Why?" Trying to play dumb, but everybody's like, "Stay away from him." So then Ren makes the police officer some tea. She tells the police officer her father's a poet. He's impressed, and he's very soft natured, good hearted. And he goes, "Wow, I've never met a real poet before." But Ren is like, "Well, he's kind of busy right now." And before the police officer leaves, he goes, "Hey, we're having a raffle." They're raffling off for turkey or something. Ren doesn't eat turkey. She doesn't like turkey. But the police officer seems like a nice guy. And to humor him, she buys two raffle tickets. And he is thrilled. And he goes, "Okay, see you later." And he leaves. Well, 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 look what we have here. Does that car look familiar? Yep, someone is back. Can you guess who? So she enters just like last time, doesn't knock, ring a doorbell. She just opens up the front door and she's all hello. And then that's when Ren comes. And then that's when Mrs. Hallett, she just takes off her coat and everything like that. And she goes, I talked to the school board about you, and yeah, they were very interested in your case. And then that's when Mrs. Hallett, she's rubbing her hands like she's cold. She goes by the fire. And that's when Ren says, "Oh, I was just getting ready to put the kettle on. Would you like some tea?" And then that's when Mrs. Hallett, kind of disappointed that she didn't get Ren upset. So she calls out to her, "Oh, did you hear what I said? I said I talked to the school board about you." And all Ren does is, she's in the kitchen now and she goes, "Oh, what type of tea would you like?" And Mrs. Hallett does not let up. Look at her crossing her arms and stuff. And she's just looking at Ren and she's like, "Yeah, you're supposed to be from England. And I didn't know little boys and girls from England could be so rude. I thought children educated in England are well behaved." It's like, what? So you can see, she's pushing Ren, but Ren doesn't fall for the bait. She just holds up two types of tea and she says, "Oh, did you decide what type of tea you would like?" So now look at the top picture. Now Mrs. Howlett is just walking around the house, and then Wren is following behind her. And Wren says, "Mrs. Howlett, please accept my apology." And Mrs. Howlett is like, "Well, it's not going to be that simple." And then she says, "You told my son that your father wanted to talk to me. So call him." And that's when Ren is like, "Well, he's translating right now, and I couldn't even disturb him, not even for a police officer." It's like, oh, Ren is dropping that, letting Miss Howlett know that, yes, Officer Migleriti, I'm kind of little buddy buddy with him now. But guess what? Mrs. Howlett sits down and, ooh, look at that bottom picture. She looks at Ren and says, "You know what? Officers like him, they work for me. And I'm going to sit right here and wait until you call your father. Woo! We're getting into Academy Award performances right here. The tension. Gosh. Okay, now look at the top picture. Ren, all she says is, "Oh, you never answered about the tea." Then that's when Mrs. Hallett says, I don't know why we thought you and your father would be happy in this house. Then that's when Ren is like, well, my father and I, we love this house. Then Mrs. Hallett says, well, I think we'll make other plans. Because remember, this is Mrs. Hallett's house and they're leasing it. Then that's when Wren says, well, our lease is for 3 years. And Mrs. Hallett says, well, leases have been known to be broken. Oh, and look at her face looking like, look at that third picture down there at the bottom, looking like Ursula from The Little Mermaid, talking about leases have been known to be broken. Then she says, unless, of course, your father and I can come to some sort of understanding. And then that's when Ren looks at her and she's like, what sort of understanding? Then Mrs. Hallett points her finger at Ren and says, there you go again with that mocking tone. It's like, whoa. Then she adds, and don't look at me with those pitiful, sad eyes, because you and I both know you say exactly what you intend to say. It's like, whoa. So all Ren does is she politely walks over to where the jelly glasses are, and she just says, Mrs. Hallett, your jelly glasses are ready. That's when Mrs. Hallett spins around and looks at Ren and says, oh, am I being dismissed? So Miss Hallett, she stands up and she goes, you and I both know your dad is not here. So she starts walking. And then that's when Ren is like, Mrs. Hallett, don't go into my father's study. If you go into my father's study, I'm going to tell my father about your son. Oh, whoa. Then look at Mrs. Hallett. She turns around and she's like, what? What are you talking about, my son? And Ren is like, yeah, the incident on Halloween, your son came over, and it's like, whoa. But then Mrs. Hallett, ooh, look at that picture in the middle. She looks at Ren and she says, what are you talking about? Who is feeding you these lies about my son? Is it that police officer? You know he had an affair with my son's wife before they got married. And it's like, whoa. And then Ren keeps going. Then Ren is like, well, your son looks like he likes to give candy out to little girls. Uh-oh. And this is what sets Mrs. Hallett over the edge. Oh my God. And look at the first picture. Mrs. Hallett slaps Ren across her face. It's like, whoa. And then the next picture, Ren doesn't cry. She doesn't say anything. She just looks at Mrs. Hallett dead in her face and says, you can get your jelly glasses now. And Mrs. Hallett, the look on her face, not only is she upset, but she's kind of scared of Ren at the same time because she has yelled at this little girl, slapped her face, and Ren is like, you can get your glasses now. So Mrs. Hallett is like, damn you. And it's like, wow. So then she picks up the jelly glasses. Then she looks at them and she goes, oh, there's no seals on them. I can't do anything with these glasses without, any tops on them. She goes, "Oh, they're probably in the cellar. I need to go in the cellar." And Ren is like, "You're not going in the cellar." And she goes, "Yes, I am." And then look at her. She drags the table and, well, let's just say Ren is covering her face for a reason. I'm not going to tell you the rest, but yeah. Boy, and wow, the drama continues. At the top picture, now you have Mario the magician. He gets involved. Then remember the nice police officer? Well, he comes back to Ren's house unannounced at night, and he's not in uniform. Uh, is he there just to make sure she's okay, or does he have other arterial motives? And look at Frank. Frank is back at the front door again. But Frank is not too happy because he's looking for his mom. He's like, "Hey, have you seen my mom? Where is my mom?" Then we see Mario in the pouring rain, the freezing pouring rain. Why does he have a shovel? And is he doing gardening in the freezing rain? Maybe not. And oh, look at the middle picture. We see Gordon the hamster, but Frank is holding him. And then we see someone making a mess on the floor. So, boy, I tell you, there's not that many people in this movie, but my God, tons and tons of suspense and tons of drama. So, like I said in the beginning, I'm not going to give away the ending. So, I'll leave that to you. But I thoroughly enjoyed this movie, and I'm so glad I refound this movie. You know how you watch so many different movies? There are some movies you forget, even though they're really good, but it's just so many movies that some you forget and you revisit them. So, I'm so glad I got to revisit this movie and make you aware of it if you weren't aware of it already. So go ahead and check out this movie and also do a little bit of research on the movie as well, because this movie comes with some controversy. So you can go ahead and read up on that as well. Man, I have got to talk about Jodie Foster. She has to be, gosh, probably one of the greatest actresses, I guess, in my generation. I can't think of anybody else that is on her caliber when it comes to performances. I mean, look, this movie, The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane, this came out in 1976. Jodie Foster had 4 movies that year, 4, and she was only 13. And when I say movies, I'm talking movies, movies, like Taxi Driver with Robert De Niro, where she in that movie, she played an underage lady of the evening. She was nominated for an Academy Award for that role. And she also that year starred in Freaky Friday. Yes, Jodie Foster put Freaky Friday on the map. She did the original movie version. And this quirky movie called Bugsy Malone. It's this mafia movie, but all kids are in it. It's nothing but kids. And of course, it's not violent or anything like that, but it is so funny to see them, act like gangsters and stuff, but they're just like 12 and 13 years old. So she was in that. And of course, she was in this movie, The Little Girl That Lives Down the Lane. And before the age of 30, Jodie Foster already had 2 Academy Awards. It's like, what? That is crazy. And then, while she was a teenager, and everything like that, growing up, it's like, you know what? I think I want to go to Yale. So she goes to Yale University, you guys. And then after she graduates from Yale, she goes back into acting. And boy, her performances are amazing. She was in a movie called The Accused. Oh, that was it dealt with a lady. She got assaulted in a bar, and a lot of victim blaming and shaming, and oh man, excellent movie. She was excellent. I think she got an Academy Award for that performance, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And you may remember her as Clarice from Silence of the Lambs, of course. And oh my God, her list of movies just go on and on. Flight Plan, Panic Room, Anna and the King. And what's that Denzel movie? Oh, it was so good. Inside Man. And she was in True Detective in 2024. She does directing as well. And if I'm not mistaken, she was nominated for an Academy Award in 2024. So yeah, Jodie Foster has been acting, I think, ever since she's 2 years old. So boy, and she always seemed very mature for her age. Go back and on YouTube and look at clips when she would be interviewed on all these late night TV shows and stuff. You can kind of tell the hosts are like, they're used to talking to children like children, like, so what kind of toys do you like to play with? You know what I mean? What's your favorite ice cream? But she seems to be a little more mature, I guess. So it's weird watching it, and how they're not uncomfortable, but they're like, wow, you're pretty mature for your age. But yeah, I've always loved Jodie Foster's acting and everything like that. So yeah, so definitely look her up, check out her movies and all of that good stuff. Well, of course, I have to talk a little bit about Martin Sheen. I mean, come on. Martin Sheen has been around for decades, and his acting I have enjoyed actually for decades. He has played in tons of movies. Of course, you may know him from the famous movie Apocalypse Now. Oh my God. Talk about an excellent movie. He played in the movie Wall Street with his son, Charlie Sheen. He also played in the movie Catch Me If You Can, The Departed. I mean, this guy, his JFK, and also on TV, very successful. He played the president on the hit show The West Wing back in 1999. And he has just, oh my God, so many freaking movies. If you're not familiar with his acting, you have to check it out. And of course, his son, Charlie Sheen, is an actor as well. And also his other son, Emilio Estevez, is also. I remember Emilio, of course, for Young Guns back in the day. But of course, he's done other things, directing and things of that nature. And Martin Sheen also has a third son, Ramon Estevez, and he also has a daughter, Renee. So I encourage you guys to check out the film history of Martin Sheen. Okay, let's talk about Alexis Smith. Boy, she did a good job in this movie. Now, Alexis Smith, she comes from, I guess, what you would call the golden age of Hollywood. Man, she has starred in movies with some heavy hitters. We're talking Clark Gable, Humphrey Bogart, William Holden, Earl Flynn. Wow, and the list goes on and on and on. And those were like back in the 1940s, 1950s. And then in the 1960s, she kind of took a break from the movie screen and she appeared on stage with her husband. They were actually married for 49 years. which is very rare in Hollywood. And then every once in a while, she would do some TV work and things of that nature. So, yes, yes, yes. And Alexis, unfortunately, is no longer with us. She passed away back in 1993. But, her movies are still around and we can still watch her that way because she did an incredible performance in this one, that's for sure. Now, let's talk a little bit about Mort Schumann. Now, this is the interesting thing that I found out about Mort. I thought Mort was an actor, but not really. He is known for his songwriting, and every once in a while he do some acting. So him and his collaborator in music, Doc Pomus, you would not believe the songs that they have written, you guys. Oh, A Teenager in Love. Oh my god, I'm not gonna sing that song, but I love that song. Turn Me Loose. This Magic Moment? What? Save the Last Dance for Me? Oh, come on. Viva Las Vegas? No. And another Elvis song, Marie's the name of his latest flame? Wow. So as you can see, Mort, boy, he had a good songwriting career. That's amazing. And unfortunately, Mort is no longer with us. He passed away back in 1991. But it was interesting looking him up and finding out all of these little fun facts. Scott Jacoby, he plays Mario in this movie. And it's interesting when you see actors and then all of a sudden you don't see them anymore. And it's like, God, what happened to them? Are they on drugs? Did they pass away? Like, what happened? Well, Scott is just fine. He had quit acting. He had a pretty good career in acting, but he quit it, and guess what? He became a very successful Grammy award winning producer. And it's like, oh, wow, this is really cool. So good for him. And he did a good job in this movie. So there you go. That is Scott. And Scott is 69 years old now. So weird going back watching these old movies when they were like teenagers, and now here it is, you know, the 21st century, and it's like, what? Scott is 69? No way. But yeah, time marches on. Well, let's wrap this up. Once again, thank you so much for listening. I always appreciate it. Thank you so much for your attention. And thank you so much for your time because I know time is very precious, right? So thank you. And until next time, take care. Bye.